And now we are going to create some materials for our object. So we're going to, let's see, actually before we create the materials, we need to modify some settings with our laser beams. For instance, let's add, we don't want the tips to be just flat like that. There should be some tapering to them, you know. So we are going to add, of course, the taper modifier. And then we're going to increase its settings, as you can see, so that it gives us those nice looking tips. Now is the time to turn on auto key, especially with the extrude modifier. And the beginning, we don't want it, we don't want the object to be extruded at 45 units, so we're going to change the amount to 0 in the beginning. And then actually let's select, and then at frame 5, that's when we want it to be extruded, not at 45 but much more. And then also please remember the tapering should really be quite a lot. So to do that, we don't want to keyframe the tapering, so we're going to turn off auto key, and then we're simply going to increase the tapering amount like that manually. Not too much, please. Okay, back to the extrusion. Turn on auto key again, and then now let's go ahead and increase the extrusion so that it covers almost the whole screen, you know, so that people can't see the edge of the laser beams, or else, you know, it just won't look good. And then we also need to find out what's our final output going to be. And since these days everybody is into high definition, well, we're going to go to rendering, render. When the settings pop up and the output size, we are going to change the size to HDTV. And trust me guys, if you're also so obsessed with high definition, you're not the only one. I'm just mad about high definition. Like, I prefer to get everything in high definition, you know. And it's amazing when I tell my friends that, hey, I got a movie like Saving Private Ryan, which is 20 gigabytes on my hard drive. They just can't believe it. But of course, the amount of detail that actually goes into it makes it worth it. So we're going to change, I'm going to change mine to 1280 by 720. Now, very important, you need to come to the perspective viewport label, right click, and then select show save frame. Now, what you're looking at now is which object will actually show up in the scene and which won't. That's why 3D Max has given us these rectangles here to show us what is going on. Okay, so you can see, of course, at this point what the tapering is all about. So we're going to increase the extrusion a bit further, really, so that the camera never really cuts it off. Okay, perhaps even more. Turn off auto key, select the tapering, let's just increase it a bit more like that. Okay, press preview. Aha, you see that? Now those look more like beams, you know, instead of just being simple rectangles. Okay, so let's go again. Okay, when we play this, you're going to notice, you see that? They appear out of nowhere and then zoom. They strike at our little object. Okay, and then we need to decide when should the laser cut off. So back to the auto key. We need to come maybe somewhere, let's see, somewhere here. Yeah, let's go to the extrusion. Just increase it by 1 unit like that, just to create a keyframe like that, or hit create key, and then move forward like 4 frames or 5 frames, and then we're going to turn the extrusion to 0. You see that? That way the laser beam will simply cut themselves off like zoop. You see that? But it will happen so nicely and quickly, like, you know, really to make our scene really good. And then the other thing is, we do not want, let's see, if we play this back, if you are really close, when you press F9, you'll notice that our laser beam already appears from the beginning of the animation. Now we don't want that, so we need to fix that, and here's what we do. We are going to select the laser beam T, right click, and then we're going to open the curve editor for it. Now this of course opens the curve editor, which again I know most people don't use because they simply don't know how it can help them, but don't worry, I'm going to show you what it can help us do in this instance. We're going to select the laser beam itself. We want to control its visibility so that in the beginning it's not visible in the scene. Okay, so select it and then we go to tracks. As you can see, you must always first come to the top of the tree there where it says laser beam 01, you know. Don't come to any of its parameters. Always go to the tree there. Tracks, visibility track, add. Visibility track of course means when it can control when does the object become visible and when it actually disappears. So click on the visibility modifier there. We're going to add keys. You can see that option there, it says there add keys. We're going to add a key there and there. Okay, and then let's jump forward in the timeline. Around here, around this section here, we'll also need to add keys at frame 50. So click on the visibility, select add keys, and then we're going to add a key there at frame 50, and of course there. Now of course we need to adjust the parameters. Let's go to frame 0 where things are supposed to happen. Now this is where the beam should not be visible. Remember, right now when we render you can see it. We don't want that. So we're going to select the visibility, select that key at frame 0, and then right click to access the parameters. As you can see now here, 3DMax tells you at what time we are and what's the value of the visibility. If the visibility is set to 1, it means the object is visible. If it's set to 0, it of course means it's invisible. So in the beginning here, at frame 0, we're going to right click, as you saw, came to this key here, and then we right clicked. In the beginning we're going to change the value here to 0. By doing that, of course, you can see how 3DMax adjusts the curve there. You can see that. So our visibility here starts at 0. And then we're going to right click on this next key here. That key is supposed to be at frame 5. Now let's actually see. Let's move on to frame 5. So the visibility track, we are going to move this key here to frame 5. So enter 5 there, and of course its visibility must be set to 1, okay, so that it can appear now. So now you notice, can you see the laser beam slowly fades into the scene like that, you see, until of course it becomes visible. You see that, okay? So basically it fades nicely slowly. You see it's first see-through, you know, and then it fades in. And then of course you go to frame 50, which is again visibility. Right click, we had frame 50, visibility set to 1, and then we're going to right click this value here. This should be at frame 55. Now this is where the laser beam must cut itself out of the scene to disappear. So we're going to right click and change its value to 0. So that in here, of course, towards the end, the laser beam like that disappears out of the scene gracefully and beautifully. And remember, as you can see, it's doing that to all our laser beams, you know. Yeah. Oh, sorry, it doesn't do actually to all of them. We need to adjust each of them manually. So we're going to work now on this one here. Right click, turn on the curve editor. Oh, sorry. Let's first work on this one's visibility again. I'm trying to see if we can be clever and manipulate the visibility of all the objects. So select the laser T, select its visibility track, and then we're going to right click and then select copy. See that? Now we're going to select laser beam J. We come to it again. Remember, we go to the top of the tree and then we go to tracks, visibility, add. Now we come to it, right click on its visibility track, and then we're going to paste the instance, and then hit OK. Hopefully, yeah. Thank you, 3DMax. This one too is now manipulable. You see that? It starts by fading in. You see, it's see-through first, and then of course it becomes solid. You see that. Of course, up next we need to do that to the laser beam edge. So right click and then open the curve editor, laser beam edge, tracks, visibility, add, select its visibility, right click and then paste the instance. Okay. Now all our objects are behaving the same way. As you can see now, they all fade in. You see that? They're all fading in into the scene. Beautiful indeed. Open up the material editor. We now need to give proper materials to our object. So we're going to select, starting with the laser beams. Select the laser beams. Select an empty slot. We're going to give them this texture. Let's rename it to laser beam. Give it a red texture already. And then the next one, rename it to texture, because it's going to be the texture of the rest of our objects. In other words, the blocks, you know. So we're going to select, we are going to do the following. We're going to select the text themselves. So where are they? The blocks and the texts. Select them, and of course they need to have this texture here. Yeah. If you preview, you can see now they all look like one thing, and as you can see, of course, the text disappear into the blocks because, of course, they have the same texture. And another thing that I've noticed, that when you start the animation, you notice that this particular system here is already visible. Okay? Yeah, I knew it. It's this handwriting or the scribble. So let's do this. We're going to open up the particle flow. It's the writing. Let's come to the birth parameters here. We're going to modify them for all the objects. We don't want them to start at frame 0. They'll start at frame 5. Yeah, that way you can see now it has disappeared. See, it has disappeared now. It's no longer there. See, because the problem is that it was being animated too quickly. Oh, but then again it comes too late. Maybe we'll tell it to animate from frame 2. Yeah, like that. Okay, so from frame 2. So do that for each of these. They shouldn't be animated too early. Yeah, that solves the problem. Yeah, you see now there's nothing in the beginning. After 1 frame, the laser beams appear. After 2 frames, of course, they begin to write. Perfect. Next. No, I didn't say next properly. Next! Yeah, next are these objects here that are causing the collisions. The last thing we want is for them to be visible by our viewers. So, what do? We hide them. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. We've nearly forgotten about them. It's these blue boxes here. These secret agents who are responsible for knocking out the text. So, we're going to select hit object J and T. Select them, right click, and then open the object properties. We don't want them to be rendered, so we're going to uncheck renderable and then hit OK. That way, of course, when we render them, when we render the scene, you see, they will not be anywhere to be seen as a cause of the collapse of our object here. And now is a very important part. What texture do we give to our main object here? Let's open up the material edit. Actually, let's open up the rendering option. We'll be using the very powerful engine of Mental Ray to give us very nice looking realistic textures. So come here and let's scroll down under Assign Renderer. We'll change it from the default scanline to Mental Ray. Now, Mental Ray, of course, is the one going to be responsible for giving us those nice textures that we're about to create now. Now, for our texture here, we're going to change it from standard to Mental Ray. And now, as you can tell, I've always been very obsessed with car shaders, so no wonder I went on to release the Camaro training DVD, because car textures are so nice and shiny. So we're going to come to the surface, hit on the none button, we're going to load a car paint shader. Okay. So that's the texture, of course, that our blocks are going to take and the text. Now, for the basic color, we are going to give it a nice dark light gray. So scroll down until you get to the black textures. Yeah, so we're going to look for a light gray texture like that. So basically what that means is that our main texture will be this gray texture, but the edges will be nice and red. Of course, you can change the color of the edge to any color that you want. It can be blue, you know, or any color that you like. But I prefer it to be red because when we press, let's see, F9 to preview. Aha, can you see what we're having there? Let me change my rendering option here so that you guys can easily see what I'm doing. I'm just going to change it quickly to 800 by 600 so they can see, of course, what I'm doing. Yeah, this looks, of course, bigger. You see that? Aha, this looks nice and shiny. I like the edges, the fact that they are red or pink or whatever you call them. You see that? Nice stuff. Okay, and of course you can see the nice reflections going on, of course. And then let's scroll up. We're going to give it a fake environment, so click on the environments option and we're going to load an environment map. See that? Of course, now it makes the textures darker like that. Okay. By simply loading a fake environment map, we have beautiful scene going on, of course. And then our floor also needs a texture because it has to reflect upon, of course, whatever is going on with it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to click and drag to an empty slot here. Rename this to floor. Now, of course, we're going to select our floor. Select the floor, and then we're going to give it this texture. And then we're going to click on the surface map. For the surface, we want it to be darker at the edges, but more or less of a gradient around our subject here, so that our viewers, of course, can focus more on what we're trying to show them. So we come here to the base color. We're going to load a gradient ramp. You see that? There it is. Aha. And then click on the checker box here to show map in viewport like that. Okay. Now we're going to come here and change the gradient type to, of course, radial like that. Now the starting color, we want it to be a light color like that. This color here in between them must be dark. And also the color at the very end there also must be dark like that. See that? Now if you look through the scene, you see that the gradient is a bit too spread out, so we need to reduce it. To do that, we're going to drag this bar there closer. See that? By dragging it closer, of course, we can control just how big the gradient actually looks. Let's preview this. Aha! You see that? Now our viewers' eyes, of course, will be more focused on the animation that's taking place where the gradient is positioned at this time. Let's view things from the top. Smooth plus highlights. Here you can see, of course, easily what is going on. By moving the plane, of course, you can see how the gradient actually is affecting the scene there. You see that? How nice it looks, eh? Beautiful indeed. So it's causing a nice reflection to be happening. This one we are really close. You see that? Beautiful and sophisticated. I like that. Remember, that was achieved by controlling this area here, this bar here, by dragging it closer or further away to determine where the gradient would actually appear. Now, up next, because these are laser beams, they need to glow. So, first things first, we need to select exactly which objects will glow. Those should be the sparks and the laser beams. So we're going to change, the most important thing here is to changing the object's material ID so that 3D Max can know which ones to glow and which ones to leave alone. So here's how we do it. Starting with the laser beam, we come here where it says 0, material ID channel. That's the most important thing, guys. We come here, we are going to change the material ID to something like, let's see, 1. Oh, I like a safe number. So a number like 3. So this material ID, 3D Max is going to pick whichever object is assigned this material and try to make them glow. And then the next step is to change the object's self-illumination. Actually, first turn it to two-sided. We are going to change the self-illumination by increasing it all the way to 100. By that, of course, you can see already it's red hot. Next is also this object here, the sparks. Make them two-sided. We're going to change the diffuse color here to a white texture. And again, self-illumination all the way to 100, so that now it's shiny white. And then we need to go to the environment map because it's the one controlling the glow. So we go to rendering, environment. We need to go to effects, and then we're going to add lens effects. I'm doing it very slowly so that you see exactly what I'm doing, so I don't have to repeat myself. And then we are going to add a glow like that. Okay, let's rename this lens effect here to laser beam. Okay, and then in here we need to scroll down to the parameters here. This controls how much glow we actually have in the scene. We are going to change the glow size to 2 because we don't want too much glow, because the glow should still surround the object. Now the intensity determines just how much color do you want to glow, and I think we're going to set ours to 130. The more intense the colors, the more bleeding the colors will look. And then we want our glow to use some of the textures that are coming from the object's materials. So use source color, we're going to turn it to 52. Okay, so that it can still use some of the colors that we're giving it in the first place. And the radial color, well, we can simply set it to red also. Now, this will not do anything unless we tell 3D Max which object's material ID must be affected. Remember, when we opened up the material editor, we gave this object the material ID of 3. So we come here to the options, select, check the material ID, then we're going to set it to 3, like that. Now, we're going to press F9 to preview. The scene is being rendered. Can you see what is happening? Of course, the lights beams are glowing. But of course, there's some settings that need to be changed for us to get proper results, because this is too much. Let's come here. We're going to change the glow size to 1 and the intensity to 10. Let's see whether that makes any difference. Much better. Can you see that? Now, of course, the glow is much more believable, you know, because it's much more concentrated. Remember, as I told you, so basically that was solved by changing the size here to 1 and intensity to 10. You can always change the size to 2 and the intensity maybe to 13 so that we can see for ourselves, of course, what is going on. You see, by increasing that, of course, you can see what it causes. Up next is, of course, the sparks. The sparks are going to give them a material ID of 2. We're going to add, of course, another lens effect here. Going to rename it to sparks, of course, and add a glow to it. Again, we're going to change the size to 2, intensity to 10. Now, very important, because this is sparks, we don't want too much going on around it, because these are tiny particles after all. So for that, we're going to come to the size. We're going to reduce the size to 0.3 because it really needs to be a tiny glow. The intensity, well, let's set it to 90. It shouldn't glow too much. And use source color should again still be set to 52 so that it can still use some of the original colors that are coming from it. Now, the radial color controls the color of the glow. Let's give it a nice orange, like that, okay? And then, of course, don't forget, we need to go to the options, set the material ID the sparks material ID is of what? 2, as we gave it like that. So we're going to change material ID to 2. Now let's see what happens now. Aha! Do you see that? Now, of course, the sparks too are glowing. Beautiful, eh? Let's just see things from another angle. This is so beautiful to see, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that from the top. Woohoo! It's going so well, I must say. And now we need to control, or rather we need to add one more additional effect to really enhance the scene, and that could be a light. So I'm going to create panel, select lights. Because we're using mental ray, we can rely on mental ray to give us very good area light. So we're going to select mental ray omni and just click it in the viewport like that. And then let's position it, of course, where it can be best displayed. Actually, let's jump to the beginning of the scene where things are not so heavy. Yeah, now you can see it's lights on the computer. Yeah. Let's change its settings as follows. Let's change its color multiplier to 1.8 so that it really helps our object stand out. And if we're to view things with that view, you can see, of course. Yeah, well done indeed to us. Woo! Look at that. Beautiful light setup indeed. Now what happens when the particles come to join the party? Woohoo! Look at that. Perfectly lit up scene. I'm really loving this. Whoa! I can't believe we've come this far, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah. Now there's one more thing. I think we need another light. Now this time it can just be a normal omni light. We're going to move it to 0 units on all axes. As you can see, we're working on the view mode. This should be responsible for emitting things from the inside out. So we're going to move it, as you can see. Remember, if your scene is too slow, please move to frame 0 at the beginning of the timeline so that, of course, you can see things quicker. Let's go to the intensity parameters. So this would be the glow coming from the inside. Let's try to set it to 3 and see what happens. Whew, 3 is quite a lot. And let's try to give it a different color. These days I'm feeling, I don't know, weird. So I'll go for pink color. I don't know, is it pink or purple? You decide. I always call it purple. So the purple color is being emitted from the inside out. See that? Beautiful. What happens if it was light green? Like that. I'm just trying to create a conflict between the two shaders. Okay. When it's green, it's still nice also. But still, purple does it for me. So now, let's see what happens when the particles are being pushed out. Like that. What happens? See that? Beautiful. Our interior. You see that? You see that? Our interior, our inner areas are perfectly being lit. And that's exactly what we really wanted. And then we need to work on the timing of our particles. Like when do our objects actually break up? Let's start with the text J. So we can see its keyframes there, of course. Let's do the following. We are going to open the time configuration. Let's change our end time to 150. Okay? Now, we are going to determine when do the text actually fall off. To do that, we're going to select their keys. For instance, with text T, of course. Sorry, text. We're trying to work on text T here. Yeah. Select the keyframes of text T. Scrub forward through the timeline and then decide when do you think is appropriate time for the text to fall off. And I think it's after the laser beam has had a nice run through it, like there, at frame 44. So I'm going to select its keyframes and move them, of course, forward like that. So that it only falls after the laser beam has passed and created a nice outline of it like that. You see? Aha. You see that? Okay. Up next, of course, is text J. I don't think J has much of a problem. Let's see. Again, remember the whole idea is we're selecting the keyframes and deciding when do we drag them forward. I think it should only come out after around that section there. So we move the frames until frame 51. Yeah. So we wait until the laser beam has come all the way down there and created a nice outline. That's when it can come out. There we go. And then, of course, H cannot be left alone. So text H. Let's work on its timing. So the laser beam will come, begin to cut it out. When do we want it to be dropping off? Well, around this section here. So which is around frame 54. So select its keyframes and of course move them at frame 54 like that. So that of course our laser beam will be writing it out, and then of course, as you can see, it first creates the outline and then boom, the text falls out of the way. Now let's just have a view of what happens when everything is said and done, or actually when the animation is busy taking place. I'm really loving this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that, eh? Woohoo! Yep, yep. I'm just too excited, so please understand my overexcitement. It took us a long time to get to this part of the tutorial, but I'm glad we got there. And in the end, that's all that matters. Oh yeah. And then let's do the following. I'm going to go back to my rendering and set it back to high definition. HD TV, baby. Oh yeah, I just love the word HD. Of course, you could have used HDJ, but then I wonder what that would have meant. Anyways, we're not going to. I'm not going to show you a quick setup with the camera. So, as you can see, we are liking this view. So we simply go to Views, Create Camera from View, like that, or Control C on the keyboard. Now we have a camera looking at the scene. Then we're going to select the camera's target, select position, or the movement tool. We need to position it. Let me just close these windows of mine. We need to position it at 0 units on all axes like that, and then drag it up, okay, so that it's looking at the right thing, more or less in the middle of the scene. And then of course we need to select the camera itself. It may need to come down like that. As long as it gives us a view of all the letters in our scene, then we are fine with it. So the camera will start here. So we're going to select the camera and its target, turn on auto key, and then we're going to create a key here at the beginning. So basically this is where the animation starts. More or less like with the top view. You see, that's how it's going to start the scene. I like that nice glow going on there at the edges. Oh my goodness, 3D Max is just fantastic. Oh yeah, we're going to scrub forward in the timeline. Now at this point here, this is when we really want Max to have come down a bit. Around, like, we're going, actually, let's go ahead and turn off the angle snap toggle. It makes things really slow. Yeah, at this point, yeah, we want 3D Max to be looking at things like this. Maybe with more zoom going on. And more up so that we have more things to feed our viewers' eyes with. So basically we want it to start like this from there. So the words will be cut off, and then of course when it gets here, we want again some rotation, so that of course people should be able to observe all the letters of our logo. HTJ indeed. Oh yeah. I'm going to turn off auto key. Remember now, we don't know exactly what things look like until, of course, we create an animation preview. And remember, the animation preview is so powerful because it saves us time. Imagine you've already rendered the entire scene and it might take a long time, and now you have to come and fix things, you know. So that's why we can simply go to animation, make preview, create preview, so that 3D Max can calculate nicely for us exactly what we're going to have. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Zzz. Oh yeah, look at that, eh? Zzz. Only at henrythejedi.com. You will believe indeed. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm really enjoying this scene. I can't believe how many times I'm gonna keep replaying this scene, you know. HTJ, henrythejedi.com, the home of laser cutting motion graphics. Or you can call it the home of, let's see, Cubilicious motion graphics. Indeed, what a way to end the year 2010 with a bang. Now, a lot of you people might ask me, Henry, how do you render this so that you can use it in a program like After Effects or Sony Vegas or Adobe Premiere or Apple Final Cut Pro or something like that, you know, so that you can add more post-production effects? Well, it's simple. All you do is you go to rendering, render, you change your time to an active time segment. As you can see there, it shows you it's going to start from 0 to 150 frames. That's what we want, so it's active time segment. The output size determines what kind of video you're going to have. So we want, of course, HD TV, 1280 by 720. Of course, we can go beyond. And then, very important is the render output. Now, this is where you determine what will be given to you. So we're going to click on Files. Yeah, go ahead and you can create a folder there, you know, call it HTJ Cubilicious. I love the word Cubilicious. Yeah. So I'm going to copy the name, to paste the name there. Now, very important, because it's an animation, we want to be able to maintain quite a lot of the high quality that's coming out of it. In other words, when it comes to animation, you must never render an AVI, or else you will really regret it when you try to add special effects later on, because you realize your video will have lost quality. So I always use image sequences. It can be Targa or PNG, but I always use PNG because it's a much smaller size and it also supports alpha channels. So hit save. As you can see there, it's asking us whether it wants to keep the alpha channel. Alpha channel basically means that whether 3D Max can keep the background transparent, so that we can replace the background of our scene with anything that we like. So hit OK, and then of course you can go ahead and hit render. Now you'll notice, of course, Mental Ray begins to do its thing, you know, doing its best to give you the animation that you have worked so hard to get, so that you can use it in After Effects. What a long way indeed. Whoa. What a learning journey that was to kickstart the year. And I'm glad and I hope that you've really enjoyed this tutorial as much as I also have, okay? Remember to check out our products page at henrythejedi.com. Our prices have been reduced to help you get hold of our training DVDs, amazing training content that we're trying to get to you guys out there. And as for the tutorial today, I must say, I only got one word for it. Cubilicious. So, on that Cubilicious moment, I have to say goodbye. As Henry the Jedi, I'm signing out of here. Stay in peace. Bye-bye. Until next time. You will believe. Or before I go, once more, Cubilicious.